I realized my divorce had quietly turned into a cheating revenge story at 6:40 in the morning, staring at a court document on my laptop. The filing said my husband was claiming the house. Not half. The entire house. His lawyer had written that he retained exclusive ownership of the marital residence, that I had no remaining legal interest. My stomach dropped, because the house listed in that filing was the one I bought 3 years before I ever met him. I refreshed the portal. Same document, same wording. Uploaded the night before at 11:18 p.m. I downloaded it again. Read it slower. The wording didn't change. He was telling the court the house belonged to him. 3 years earlier, everything had felt stable. I met Daniel when I was 34. I worked in accounting. He ran a renovation business. The relationship moved quickly, but nothing felt reckless. By the time we married, I already owned the house, a small 2-story place outside the city. 10 years of saving had gone into it. The mortgage was manageable. The deed was simple. My name only. When Daniel moved in after the wedding, we never changed the title. At the time, it didn't seem important. We split bills. We renovated the kitchen together. He liked telling friends the house was our first real investment. I let the comment pass. It felt close enough to true. The first strange detail appeared about a year before the divorce. I was sitting at the kitchen table paying utilities when I saw a transfer I didn't recognize. $8,500 sent to something called Mercer Holdings. Daniel's last name was Mercer, but I had never seen that account before. When I asked, he answered immediately. Part of the renovation business, a temporary holding account. The explanation sounded reasonable. Still, that night I opened the banking app again. Scrolled through the transaction, checked the timestamp. Then I closed it and told myself I was overthinking. Months passed without anything obvious. Then the hotel charges appeared. 2 separate cities. Both during weeks he told me he had overnight renovation jobs. When I asked about those, he said he had been meeting suppliers. The answer came fast. Too fast. After that, I started checking the account activity more regularly, sometimes before bed, sometimes while coffee brewed. That's when I saw the next transfer, $14,000. Same destination. Mercer Holdings. I took screenshots. I didn't fully understand why, but something told me to keep a record. 2 months later, I found the messages. A conversation thread with a woman named Claire. Hotel reservations, travel plans, inside jokes that clearly hadn't started recently. When I confronted him, Daniel didn't deny anything. He just said the marriage wasn't working anymore. 3 weeks later, he moved out. The divorce paperwork arrived soon after. At that point, I assumed the situation would be unpleasant but simple. We had no children. Most finances were separate, and the house had been mine before the marriage. So when I saw that court filing claiming the house, the wording made no sense. I opened the PDF again. Daniel's lawyer had written, "Property acquired during marriage and maintained jointly." I stared at that sentence, because it wasn't true. I opened the county property site, searched the address. The deed record appeared instantly. I downloaded it, read it once, then again. Grantor, mortgage lender, owner, my name, only my name. Recording date: 3 years before Daniel ever moved in. I open the mortgage statement next. Primary borrower, me. No secondary name. Then the property tax portal. Then the homeowner's insurance policy. Every document matched. The ownership had never changed. Then something else occurred to me. Daniel had never asked about the deed. Not once. Not during the marriage. Not during the separation. He had just assumed. I scrolled to the bottom of the deed. Ownership status. Sole owner. That was the moment everything shifted. He forgot about the deed. That afternoon, I called a property attorney, a quiet woman named Sandra. I emailed her 3 documents: the divorce filing, the deed, and the mortgage statement. She called back within an hour. Her first question was simple. "Your name is the only one on the deed?" "Yes." There was a short pause. Then she said calmly, "That simplifies things." The response filing went out 3 days later. No arguments, just documentation. Sandra attached the deed record, the closing statement from the original purchase, the full mortgage paperwork. Then we waited. 4 days later, Daniel's lawyer filed a response. This one was much shorter. It acknowledged the original purchase date. It acknowledged the deed. And it quietly withdrew the claim to full ownership. But the paperwork revealed something else. Sandra called me the next afternoon. She had been reviewing Daniel's financial disclosures. One entry stood out: D. Mercer Holdings, the same account from the transfers. She asked if I recognized it. I told her about the screenshots, the $8,500, the $14,000. She asked me to send them immediately. 10 minutes later, the emails were in her inbox. Sandra requested full bank statements through Discovery. 2 weeks later, we had them. 5 transfers total. Just over $46,000. All moved from our joint account into that business account during the final year of our marriage. Daniel had assumed the house would be his leverage, but once the deed ended that claim, the financial records became more important. Sandra filed a request to classify the transfers as marital funds moved without disclosure. Daniel called me the night he received that notice. First time in months. His voice was careful, measured. He asked if we could work something out. I told him my attorney was handling everything. The conversation lasted less than 2 minutes. 6 weeks later, the final settlement arrived. The house remained solely mine, exactly as the deed had always shown, and the undisclosed transfers were reclassified during the financial division. Daniel was ordered to reimburse half of the $46,000 moved out of the joint account. The number was written plainly in the final order. No speeches, no confrontation, just documentation and signatures. The night the divorce finalized, I locked the front door and walked through the house slowly. The same hallway, the same kitchen table where I used to check the bank account before bed. The house was quiet again, exactly the way it had been before he moved in. And the deed in the county record never changed. My name was still the only one on it. He had been careful in his way. He had spoken to attorneys. He had moved money. He had built what he believed was a reasonable claim. He just didn't account for a document that existed 3 years before he did. I used to think this kind of thing was rare. Then I started paying closer attention to what people don't say out loud.